Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wright Flyer. As always, this is your captain, Randy Wright speaking, and I'd like to take this opportunity to personally thank you for choosing to fly over the friendly airwaves here with us on our state-of-the-art radio program, Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer. Now, folks, without any further ado, let's go ahead and delve into the topic I have slated for today's program. As we can see, President Biden wasted no time in jumping in feet first to engaging in identity politics, just as I said he would, for selecting the next Associate Justice for the Supreme Court. And that's just par for the course with the way the left is right now. And it's exactly what we thought he would do. And he said that it's going to be a black woman. So he's already narrowed the field considerably. Not looking at merit, not looking at whether they would be qualified for the job or have the demeanor for making the sorts of rulings and determinations that are required of the highest court in the land. No, this all boils down to dehumanizing identity politics. It's all they can do. It's all they can focus on. It has been an obsession of the left for years now, and it shows no signs of improving at any point within the foreseeable future. And so that's where we find ourselves right now. We see that he's already gone out and made that blanket statement, much like he did right before they went forth and chose Kamala Harris to be the vice presidential choice when he was running back in the 2020 election. So it's the same tired narrative that we've been getting from the frothing-at-the-mouth Fabian Socialist leftists time and again. And in many ways, this is disrespectful even to Breyer, who, even though I disliked the man, he had a demeanor of being open-minded on the court. There were certain religious liberty decisions that he ruled the right way. There were certain decisions where he would rule in the favor of individual rights. Well, that's certainly not the type of person we're going to get from the type of nominee that Biden is most assuredly going to put up. Because, again, it's all going to boil down to the leftist obsession with identity politics. Now, what's really ugly about this whole obsession, and it is an obsession with identity politics, is the left doesn't even seem to consider how dehumanizing it is. And it's really because that's by design. It is designed to be dehumanizing because they don't want individuals to matter. It has never been for the radical fringes of the left in any way, shape, or form about the individual's importance, the individual's value, the human value that an individual possesses. No, that has never been their concern. It has never been their impetus or driving force. They would rather have collectivization or group-based collective identity. That's why they push such things as critical race theory. It's why they are so adamant about us adopting things like the 1619 Project. All of these things are, again, designed to spread guilt, to make it a collective blanket, so that we are all basically guilty of the acts of many, and therefore the individual acts cannot be judged. But that is completely counterintuitive and contrary to the way that our republic works. It's, diametrically opposed to the tenets of federalism. It's diametrically opposed to a representative republic. And again, I think that's also why they always go down the lines of being quite flippant and fast and loose with calling the United States a democracy. Again, democracy is nothing short of being akin to mobocracy, mob rule, rule of the mob. So think of the trial of Socrates, where the majority rule, mob rule, tyranny of the majority was allowed to essentially convict him and accuse him and make him be guilty, so that he had to kill himself by drinking poison hemlock. If you want the most basic, fundamental roots of democracy, pure democracy, it is the trial of Socrates. And so, again, it's not surprising that the left is doing this. In fact, they have become very, very predictable. But if you think about it, the left just loves guilt by association. You see how they've tried to do it with January 6th. We've seen how they tried to do it with Kavanaugh. We see how they try and make it to where if you disagree with their policies, you're an evil white supremacist or one who follows the philosophy of a certain political party that took over in Germany between the years of 1936 and 45, you know. Of course, I can't state it by name because YouTube punishes the algorithms that way, and YouTube has been a certain, proud member to march lock and step with them in their quest to essentially silence anybody who disagrees with the Biden administration or with this idea of totalitarianism that has been foisted upon us over the course of the past 2 years. But this identity politics and this obsession with it, and Biden, wasting no time whatsoever to say that it would be a black woman and that would be the qualifiers. It's right with the narrative of group over the individual. Submit to the will of the many. You as an individual don't count. Your individual achievements or the individual achievements of a jurist don't count. But if we really stop and think about this in the framework and context of the Constitution itself, particularly with equal protection under the law as per the 14th Amendment, then this is really questionable. It's dubious because it's already coming out and saying that the government is going to apply a test of your certain type of qualifiers. It's like a bill of attainder. Even though it's not an actual piece of legislation, it's the government operating to where it's naming out certain ones who can fit the position that are not within the constitutional guidelines. That, too, is constitutionally impermissible. But it really comes as no surprise, and shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, when you consider that the left has been doubling down on this ever since the Barack Hussein Obama era, but even more so since 2016. That's when all of the wokest nonsense really started in earnest, and it started to infect every area of politics. It's in popular culture, it's in education, it's in employment, it's in our courts. Clearly, it's in our courts now. That's what Biden has made unequivocally clear. There can be no doubt as to that's exactly what he's going to do, because he announced it on national television that that's what he was going to do. And so, to the entire world, he has announced that they are going to use somebody's race and gender as a qualifier. Now, wouldn't that go against the Civil Rights Act? The very thing that the Democrats seem to be claiming that they are so in favor of? Yeah, probably would. Probably does. It's one of the most blatant forms of federal level discrimination that I can think of in my entire lifetime. And it's an ugly and disgusting thing. But that is what the left is determined to do. They see this as their grand calling. This is their major trump card, and that they're going to play it for all it's worth. Because they think if they double down on this, and if they really ratchet down on this, then they'll get what they want. And again, it's like I said in yesterday's episode, all of this is attempting to construe this and to convey this as some sort of ideological victory for the frothing-at-the-mouth Fabian Socialists, because they have been handed defeat after defeat after defeat, systematic defeats across the board, whether it be the OSHA vaccine mandates, whether it be the federal employee vaccine mandates by that federal court in Texas, whether it be a great litany of issues. They have not been winning. And in fact, they're losing the popularity contest with the people. The people are very displeased with how they're running things. And even with also this notion of identity politics that they're doubling down. But there's something even more insidious about what they are doing with this and what it will accomplish. This approach that they have adopted serves to undermine the faith that we have in the courts. And it undermines the objective approach of the courts. The courts are supposed to be objective. That means that they are not supposed to be judging on race, gender, anything of that nature. It requires that they be qualified in the ability to understand the Constitution and to apply the Constitution to any given set of facts that is pertinent to a case that is brought before the court. But as we can see, the left doesn't want the court of law. They want the court of public opinion. And since we are on the issue of the way that it's working with the highest court in the land, one need merely look back to the confirmation hearings of now Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and the way that the left just excoriated him via the court of public opinion in an attempt to make him guilty without any evidentiary standards, and essentially engaged in character assassination. It's the same thing that they're doing now. It's the same playbook. It's the same rotten game that they're playing, and it really should have no place in our system of government. But that's the tragic place that we find ourselves in right here and right now. And again, I don't foresee it getting better, because Biden is certainly not going to back away from this. This is his creme de la creme. This has been his way of running it. As Jen Psaki said in front of the cameras at the White House press corps, that this was the promise he made. What kind of promise is this? It's a decrepit promise. It's the same lies and broken promises that we had even back when Obama was up there saying that if you like your doctor, you get to keep your doctor. Remember that one? That's the same narrative. It comes from the same place. It comes from the same frame of mind and position of the heart that the left has assumed since that time. And they've really been assuming it since way before that time. This is cultural Marxism through and through, and that's been developed through the Frankfurt School during the interwar years. And it was designed to essentially replace class with race, to undermine the fundamental pillars of culture, because it's through culture that a society manages to promote itself, to identify itself, to exercise itself, and to have a sense of normality. And that's exactly what they've been targeting. It's what they've been targeting to tear down, and we can see it. So when Biden's standing there next to Stephen Breyer, who's just announced his retirement, even though 6 months ago he said he had no intention of retiring, yes, there's something fishy about that. And yes, this is playing into a narrative that is specifically and intentionally designed to undermine the stability and foundations of the United States and our republic. That is the end goal that they've been working towards. And identity politics, as I said, undermines our republic. So it goes without saying that this line of thinking that, oh, well, what qualifies them? Race alone? Gender alone? That is contrary to the republic, because it eliminates the individual. It's all about collectivization, and mass collectivization like this is designed to strip, deprive, abridge, and alienate us of our rights, our liberties, our privileges, and our immunities. That is the overarching goal. That is the modus operandi that they hammer down upon. And this is why Biden has assumed this position. It's why he wasted no time in it. It's why it's so predictable. It is predictable because they loathe individual rights. And thus they work tirelessly and relentlessly to make a mockery of our entire system. That's the goal. That's what they want. It's what motivates them. It's like lighting a fire under their feet, and it makes them giddy just thinking about it. That's what they're doubling down on. That's really, really what they want. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's offensive. And you know, this is also why they project the woke stuff on us. Think of Peter Dinklage the other day. He was famous, of course, for being Tyrion Lannister on the Game of Thrones, going out there and saying that the remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, because they've already race-swapped Snow White, but having the dwarves in it, that's still offensive, and that caused Disney to drop that. So you can't have dwarves in stories anymore. It's the same thing. What about those workers that had that position that are now going to be out? 7 workers. Oh, that doesn't matter. Again, the individual doesn't count. It's the group. And if we can virtue signal, if we can come out as these brave new cultural justice warriors, social justice warriors, then that's a good thing. You see, it's the narrative, it's the agenda, it's the message above all else. And that has been their motivating force this entire time. But it's predictable. And I think it's going to turn even more people against them in the long run. You see, they just can't back away from it. They can't break away from it. They just feel as though they are slaves to it. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for choosing to fly over the friendly airwaves with us here at the Wright Flyer. Hope to see you again next time. Please do take care. See you around.